Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 2015. We're going to be taking a look at First Aid Kit and they're going to be performing Emmylou. And this is their song dedicated to Emmylou Harris, who is in the audience, and they have a nice dedication before they start performing. So I'm going to include the link to this video in the description below so you guys can go there to watch it the whole way through without me interrupting it. But let's get these girls up on screen and see how they get on. I'm just going to jump in here. It's so difficult to jump into this performance, but I just want to point out the amount of technical ability on show here, not only vocally and the fact that they're sisters and they can blend their voices so well, but Clara on the acoustic guitar with her fingerstyle playing some of the sequences going on, but how faultlessly executed they are that you're not even aware of what is going on with her picking with the right hand. By the way, underestimate First Aid Kit's songs from a fingerstyle perspective at your peril, because there is so much going on. And the level at which Clara has her fingerstyle ability up to, and the speed that she can throw in there as well. This is a little bit more understated with the picking, but the most important thing about the picking is the dynamics that I injected in there, because you think that if you just get the sequences down, then you'll be fine, but there is so much more to it than that. there's the whole element of putting dynamics into the picking, and especially with complex picking sequences, getting dynamics in there is so much more of a mission than just going through a cycle with the right hand and just letting the right hand do it subconsciously. Putting all of that emphasis in there takes a hell of a lot of practice. So what I'm talking about is the way that Clara is picking this, starting on a C, for example, she's using her thumb, and then she's moving down with the thumb again to the D string, and then using the first and second finger to do the rest of the picking. And if you do play fingerstyle yourself, you'll be used to using the thumb, first finger, second finger, and third finger, but Clara isn't using the third finger here. So I have got an acoustic guitar next to me, and maybe it's going to be better to try and show you guys it, especially if you don't play acoustic guitar, you might not know what I'm on about. Here, Clara is using the thumb to skip down. So we have just thumb, first finger, second finger. The thumb starts and then skips to the next string. And that's the cycle that we're going through. Like that, and I've put in a little bit of dynamics in there. If I was playing those all straight, going, you hear all those picks on the D string which don't really sit in there. So having that B and G ringing out gives you that melodic focal point, and it's going to make it more interesting. You've got more dynamic range in the playing, and by the way, this is all underneath the vocal, so she's playing this and singing it at the same time, doubling the difficulty, as I always say. When I say that we have that melodic focal point, I'm going to play through the progression and try and listen out for the G and the B string up at the top, because that's just almost a response to the root note in the chord. So we've already got that going on just with the fingerstyle playing underneath the vocal. So I'm going to play through the progression now. I don't think you guys can see my left hand, but I'm just playing the chords of the song, and I'm in a bit of a weird position here, but hopefully it'll be fine. So listen out for the two responses of the chord at the top end, which are these two strings here. Like that. So even though obviously putting in a little bit more dynamics, we've got this which makes those top two notes, the response to the root note of the chord, just pop out a little bit more. And this is everything that's going on with Clara's playing while she's singing. So there is so much going on here. Of course, you can always simplify it if you want to apply a generic strumming pattern and bounce to the root note. That kind of thing. Clara's technique on the fretboard will fly under the radar because of all of the stuff that's going on that I just mentioned, but she's singing at the same time, so you're totally unaware of it. It's great as well to see a current generation of artists who are paying tribute to the people that they were inspired by and still have the technical ability and appreciation of the things that that previous generation were doing and why they liked it in the first place. So the technical ability I've already mentioned, but we can also talk about the vocal ability, the blending of the harmonies and the dynamic range of the vocals, because this is something else that you can listen out for. Joanna and Clara blend their vocals and blend their registers. So when they're both singing in chest voice, they have that fuller bodied sound, but then when one of them changes to a light head voice sound, the other one will as well. So they're blending every part of their voice and register, so that's why we get such a great blend. They've also got the ability to just perform as a duo, having that technical ability at an instrument, and I have seen Joanna playing bass, so you can have a guitar, a bass, and Joanna also plays the acoustic guitar, playing some rhythm, so you've got this technical ability that all of the people that they were inspired by also had. They've taken that on board and are now injecting their influences into their own songwriting, into their own playing. Let's just throw that in there as well, the songwriting, because it's such an important part of being an authentic, original artist, and First Aid Kit have that ability within them to write original material like this, even just having a song about one of your idols, as Emmylou is to First Aid Kit, and performing it in front of Emmylou must have been such a nerve-wracking thing to do, but they do such a great performance. The pedal steel guitar adds so much to this performance as well. And when I say that they can perform as a duo, when they perform with the full band, it still has that stripped back feel and plenty of breathing space in there to appreciate the vocals and also the guitar playing. If that guitar was a little bit higher in the mix, then you might be able to hear those extra picks going on with the thumb, but because it's being played so dynamically, you definitely can hear that G and B string ringing out that I demonstrated earlier. But let's watch this performance to the end, and then we'll get into a little bit of the background behind these sisters.
I'll be your Emmylou and I'll be your June, and you'll be my Graham and my Johnny too. No, I'm not asking much of you, just sing, little darling, sing with me. I'll be your Emmylou and I'll be your June, and you'll be my Graham and my Johnny too. No, I'm not asking much of you, just sing, little darling, sing with me. Just sing, little darling, sing with me.
And there we have it. And you can see how it affected Emmylou Harris, her emotional reaction to it. And this is the great thing about music in general, is that when you're listening to it, like I said, when I interrupted this for the first time, it is so difficult to interrupt because it's a flowing story and you want to hear the song all the way to the completion. And you don't really analyze anything when you listen to it because of the artistry and the art that you're listening to. It's only then, after the fact, when you analyze what's going on, it just makes it even more impressive because of the playing and the singing at the same time, the harmonizing with each other, the vocal register changes that they have when they match each other. Like I said, we have the pedal steel guitar in there and the dynamic playing in the fingerstyle. We've also got the brushes on the drum kit just having such a subtle effect to keep everything moving. But like I said, when they do play with that full band, it is always stripped back and subtle, and it's all about dynamics. Just mentioning about this song, when it was released, it was voted in at number 10 for Single of the Year, and that was with Rolling Stone magazine. And just getting into the background behind these sisters, because I've already mentioned that they're from Sweden, and their dad was in a band called Lolita Pop, but he gave that up, and that was when Clara was born in 1993. And from the age of 12, Clara started getting into music. She received a guitar for her birthday and started practicing it, and started to get into a lot of folk artists. And this was actually after hearing a band called Bright Eyes. So the artist that she did get into, you can really tell from this song, because we have Emmylou referenced, and also June Carter, Graham Parsons, and Johnny Cash in the chorus of this song. So all of those influences came together, and then Joanna started joining in, and when they sang together, they really liked the sound of it and thought that they'll just do it more. So they did. So in 2007, they uploaded some of their stuff to MySpace, because MySpace was the popular music site at the time. If you made music, you had a MySpace profile, myself included, but then things started to move over to YouTube at a later date. But Clara was 14 years of age at this time, so she was still studying at school and could only really play at the weekends. So, Clara and Joanna's brother went to kindergarten with a girl whose mother was Karen Drazier, and she was an electronic music artist in Sweden and co-owned a record label. And Joanna and Clara's mum asked Karen if she would listen to her daughter's playing just to see what she thought. But anyway, Karen really liked what she heard on MySpace and signed them to the record label that she co-owned, because she didn't want them to sign with another label and get into a contract and all of the things that I have mentioned on this channel. Fortunately, the first contact that these girls had was with another musician who owned a record label who could set them on the right path and wasn't in it to try and make money off the back of them, but to help them in the music industry. So this was a massive thing, considering it was so early on in their music careers, just at the age of 14 and 17 in 2007. In 2008, they released their first EP, and this was produced by their dad. Like I mentioned, he had previous experience in the music industry, and then they uploaded a video to YouTube, and this was their cover of Tiger Mountain Peasant Song, and that was originally by Fleet Foxes, and Robin Pecknold, the singer for Fleet Foxes, saw this cover and really liked it and promoted it. He just brought everybody's attention to it. So, just by uploading a video to YouTube of this cover, First Aid Kit were now internationally known. So they were getting a lot of exposure, and they were playing a lot as well. In 2009, at the Monsters of Folk concert, they bumped into Conor Obersk, and they gave him their demo and asked him to listen to it. He was from the band Bright Eyes. So Conor did listen to the demo, and it was about a year later that he turned up to watch them live, and he was really impressed with what he heard, to the point that he told his friend Mike Mogis, and then they both went and watched another show a couple of days later. It was then a couple of days after this that they received a call from Jack White, and he asked them both to come down to his studio the next day, and they worked on a couple of songs together that was released as a single on Jack White's record label. In 2011, they performed Dancing Barefoot, and that was at the Polar Music Prize, and in the audience was Patti Smith, and she was visibly moved by the performance. In 2012 is when they released their album The Lion's Roar, and that album was produced by Mike Mogis, because when he did go to see their live show, after he offered to produce their next album, and he was true to his word. So that was produced by him in 2012, and then they performed this Emmylou song on Conan. They were doing TV work, getting their name out there, and in 2014 is when they released their album Stay Gold. So after the release of that album, they then toured, and they did that until 2015, and then took about 2 years off in order to start preparing the new album that they were going to make. And they were still doing TV performances and odd performances here or there, but the focus was very much on preparing that new album, which they released in 2018, and that was called Ruins. They've also worked with a lot of other artists and have lent their backing vocals to various projects, and more recently they've been doing a lot of promotion on TV, a lot of shows. They performed on the Graham Norton Show here in the UK, and in 2019 they were nominated for a Brit Award here in the UK as well. So they are just on the up continually, and it's great to have a look at a performance like this where there is so much going on, and it's so well executed that it flies under the radar with all of the technique, not only vocally but instrumentally as well. But thank you guys so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!